Jelly Rolls is pretty good. Jelly Roll makes no secret of the fact that he came up, a little rougher and spent some time in prison. And when he was in prison, he talks about laying on his bunk and having this vision of being in an arena singing to a crowd. And 10 years later, it came true. It's surreal a little bit because, people have to begin with a dream before they can do anything. And if you come out of poverty, which a lot of musicians do, they don't have anything but that dream.
Welcome back to another episode of the Limitless Podcast. I'm really excited because today we have with us Jake Brown. He's an award-winning music biographer. He has the new release of the Songs of Nashville. So we're going to dig into country music, but we're also going to talk about the entrepreneurial side of that, the creative side, and what about following your heart and purpose and perhaps overcoming some self-doubt as well, and doing what we love, what it's so much talked about. So we're going to dig into all of this today. But first of all then, Jake, a warm welcome to you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Live from Nashville here.
Yeah, excellent. How is Nashville at the moment?
Luckily not getting hit with more snow. We just went through our first real snowstorm in about 3 or 4 years, so ready for the spring to arrive.
Wow, spring around the corner. Can't wait for that. Fantastic, Jake. So let's kick us off then. Would you like to just give us a brief introduction to yourself? You've done so much, but if you have to capture it briefly, how would you introduce yourself?
I am a songwriter, record producer, like everybody here in town. As a biographer, music biographer, I've written books with bands ranging from Hearts to Motorhead to the Tupac Shakur Estate, Teddy Riley, Merle Haggard, Freddie Powers, my Nashville Songwriter series, the third volume of which, Songs of Nashville was just out. So I've covered a whole variety of music genres. There's others I could name. Got 61 books published in 25 years and a show called About the Authors TV on where we interview best-selling authors episodically. So I keep busy.
That sounds like a very busy life, but busy life might be a good life as well, as long as we do something what we love. And I want to start there today, actually, Jake, because there's so much self-doubt out there at the moment. There's people perhaps who feel that they're stuck in the corporate world, but then they're thinking, oh, maybe I should write a book, or maybe I should do a movie, or maybe they had something inside them that they've been carrying all their life. But you have really followed your heart. How did that begin? If you're taking us back in time, what was it that made you choose the path you're on?
Oh, I mean, it sounds a little cliche, but it sort of chose me. I was fortunate at about 5 or 6. I started playing by ear, first violin, then piano, then drums, then guitar. I've always been musical. And books, that we just kind of, authors really, I think that a lot of people will say the words kind of find you. And then you specifically, you might dabble here, dabble there, but eventually you find a niche, or say you might be a fiction writer. You're going to write crime fiction, you're going to write romance, you're going to write mystery, you're going to write science fiction. In my case, I love music so much and grew up around so much of it. And I got into the record business very young at 21. And in the same time working at labels, started writing about music, and it just kind of went from there.
Okay. And when you wrote the Songs of Nashville, then my understanding is you didn't really just document songs. This is really documenting that culture, the movement, and it's really a legacy you're creating here with the Songs of Nashville, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I point behind me to Nashville Songwriter, the book series that launched it. This is volume 3. And I think between volumes 1, 2, and 3, we have profiled well over 100 songwriters. And here on what's called Music Row in Nashville, a little known secret for a long time is that many of your main country stars did not, in fact, write the songs that they sang. Some did, but a lot didn't. And it was a very common practice for there to be a whole kind of underappreciated, sometimes unsung group of songwriters here on a place called Music Row that would basically just churn out country hits. Country's got 2 #1 charts, so you're constantly competing week in and out, a new song's going #1. So it's an incredibly competitive genre within the broader music industry that's unlike any other, be it R&B, be it rock. They all have their own lineage, but country is very special in that respect. And Nashville's my hometown of 20 23 years. So I wanted to sort of pay homage to those songwriters, and luckily we've been able to do that.
That's wonderful. So you managed to find those voices who might not have been heard otherwise, Jake. And tell us, for those who perhaps are listening from overseas here today, what is it that makes Nashville so special for the country music?
Well, traditionally it would have been a little bit more of a limited answer. What's remarkable about, as an example, chapter 1 in the book is Jelly Roll, who's become a huge country star. He started out in country rap, which is a subgenre. You wouldn't normally associate Southern rap, country rap with singing. So you had Beyonce just released the Cowboy Carter record. You've had a Taylor Swift obviously started out in country and went pop, but then so many of her fans that want to discover her early catalog had to start a country. We have her co-writer Liz Rose in the book. So if you're a fan of Taylor Swift, you get her early hits. But it just basically is such a really diverse sort of mothership of country with all these subgenres that have blown up out of it, that have made stars, and really also reinvented. Post Malone and Ozzy Osbourne had another number one hit together before he passed. So you just see the universal appeal of country, and we wanted to document that through, a lot of really important subgenres within the broader mothership of country music that are explored here.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you say that there's so many artists even in the pop culture and so on that they've taken influences or so on. And being born in Sweden myself, I can't help to think about Avicii as well, who sadly is no longer with us. But it was really through his country influence tuned "Wake Me Up" that really he made it in the U.S. Right, Jake? Have you heard of Avicii as well?
Oh yeah, we know who. Yeah, over here. Yeah, but that's just to your point. Country has got a universal appeal. It's 3 chords in the truth, kind of the Bob Dylan quote. It's acoustic guitar in roots. Very very down home themes of everyday man and woman going about life, and these are the soundtrack of those people's lives. They're sung through these songs that these songwriters write, and importantly too, we have a lot of very strong female writers we feature in the book as well as men. But it's an ageless profession. There's people that come to this town and don't have their first hit till they're 45. Some are 15. So you get this incredible range. It really can start at any time for someone with that dream to be a songwriter. And this is one of the only places on earth that you can come and not have to be the star and still become a star in this town as the creator of the music. It's a very unique dynamic.
Yeah, it sounds like that. I'm fascinated, Jake. And for someone who perhaps not living in the US, can you recommend a visit to town? What can one expect? Can we listen to some new live music in the evenings, or what's happening?
What kind of country would we recommend to you?
Yeah,
I would, if you go on Spotify, we have over 150 song playlist that was curated specifically for this book called Songs of Nashville, and you can go through it and hear everybody on that list is in this book or their songs are in this book, so you can get a really good sense from that rather than me try to give you 4 or 5 titles, because there's so many. We have over 300 hits covered in this book. So if you like number ones, it covers 6 generations from the 1950s to now. There's something there from the Merle Haggard, Willie Nelson into the Pool, all the way, like I say, to just the present day, Morgan Wallen and the other big stars of today.
Wonderful. And I understand you managed to perhaps dig out some artists then to include there who might have otherwise been fading into the history and we might never have heard them, or?
Oh, I don't know if I would say that, but to your point, we have the wonderful Clint Black, we have Vince Gill, legends in their own eras. I think more what's interesting in country, there really isn't a quote has-been category for this reason. There's places like Branson, and in Texas, for instance, there's an entire panorama of country stars you'd never hear of outside of Texas, but they play like stadiums and arenas down there. So it's got a long shelf life where you can have a hit every 10 years, or you can go out and play songs by other people. And if you do your own, Chris Stapleton, as an example, became a big hit doing Tennessee Whiskey, which is an old Bill Anderson song, which was in volume 1 of our book. So it just demonstrates that it really, again, is a timeless genre. And even if somebody's not number one now, their songs are still usually on the radio. They play a lot of casinos. They play a lot of nightclubs and cruises, even boat tours where you can go see country stars that might not be right now the biggest thing, but you grew up listening to. So it's been a pretty universally timeless genre. Like I say, unique to a lot of others I've written, and the loyalty of the fans to this music and its songs is really its longevity.
Yeah. And you mentioned also before that you have so many artists included there, but I would imagine for many of these artists, it's been a resilient life. They've been pushing on and writing, producing, and doing all the hard work, but perhaps never really making it in the spotlight. How can one really keep going? Both, I think it's the resilience part, but then also commercially, we need to earn a living at the end of the day and put some food on the table for ourselves and perhaps for our family. Is it a tough business being a music writer?
Oh yeah, because it you might only have a hit every few years if you're a songwriter. You might have a bunch of number ones in a row and then not have, like Mo Bandy or somebody have an era. But then you can play those songs as what's called a catalog the rest of your life. I'm just looking through some of the writers we feature, like Rock Kilo, the late great Kinky Friedman, of course, who was loved the world over. Wanda Millette wrote "Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places." There's just a lot of people here. Carl Jackson, Randy Brooks wrote "Grandma Got One Over by Her Reindeer." Friends in Low Places, Earl Bud Lee, which is Garth Brooks' first big hit. There's just a lot of writers here. Buddy Cannon, who produces Willie Nelson and writes with Willie Nelson. It just goes on and on. So you get a demonstration through these chapters, and I keep them short. They're like, to your point of the podcast, each chapter on average is about 5 to 7 pages, so we could profile 35 songwriters. So you're really taking them through a history of songwriting and country music, places that used to be open. There's things called writers' rounds here, where people go and play acoustically the song that might be a full instrument on the radio. You still have to be able to strip it down to its basic acoustic guitar, vocal singing, and the song's got to stand up. So no matter where you play it or what arrangement you play it in, the song is always the point. And again, we hope we give people a real look at Nashville historically, before all the skyscrapers got here and everything.
Yeah. And is there a particular story from your book that you want to share with us briefly?
Yeah, Jelly Rolls is pretty good. Jelly Roll makes no secret of the fact that he came up, a little rougher and spent some time in prison. And when he was in prison, he talks about laying on his bunk and having this vision of being in an arena singing to a crowd. And 10 years later, it came true. And it's surreal a little bit, because people have to begin with a dream before they can do anything. And if you come out of poverty, which a lot of musicians do, they don't have anything but that dream. Like, that dream is the thing that not only keeps them moving forward just to survive, but also to take a gamble on something that's got the same success ratio as this major league sports or Olympic athletes. It's got the same endurance and the same hard work ethic. And that's another really important thing we emphasize here. There's a work ethic to becoming successful at anything that within music is like 10 times, say, your average in a lot of other businesses, because you can move here and you can be the best guitar player in your state or your hometown. There's going to be 25, 30 people here that smoke you. I learned that coming here. I play a bunch of instruments. I had thought, I'll plug into this or that. Man, I would go to some of these things at open mic writer nights, and I'd be like, God, I don't even want to play guitar. These guys are so good. These ladies are so good. So it keeps you incredibly competitive, and hard work and competition in this town. It's not cutthroat like other types of genres in the music business I've been in, where people are trying to stab each other in the back. More at the end of the night, hear people pat each other on the back, and they say, great job, come back next week and earn your spot. You get a little closer to being on stage on a type. Maybe a publisher hears you, signs you to a deal, a music publisher, which is who pays songwriters. So you really just get a sense of how you come here. You are starting out at the same bottom like everybody else. Even if you're like the most beautiful person that's come out of physically, there's 1,000 people here who are pretty and can sing, or who can play guitar. So it's really cool, because everyone starts out at the same level and has to work their way up through hard work and perseverance and all the old principles you hear about that are necessary for success in any walk of life.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jake, for sharing that. And if someone is passing by in Nashville, do you have any open mic events that people can join?
Oh, the listening room is great. There's of course the legendary Bluebird Cafe. There's Commodores, which is still around, believe it or not. It's been around since the 80s. I used to play there when I first came here. Like, you go there and You get on a list, you wouldn't get on till 10 at night, and then you're playing on stage. But that's the thing. The community here, and one of the biggest lessons of the book, is if you're going to come here with your guitar and your song, and you may be the next Taylor Swift, if you are not afraid to get out in front of an audience and sing your song, even if your voice isn't going to be the one that's ultimately on the radio, you have a shot. If you're going to sit in sit online with your camera and your whatever, and you're not going to go out there and have to do the live audience thing, you're never going to make it. That's one thing I found with every writer we talked to. Even if they weren't the lead singer, they still had to go out and show that they were willing to emote that music to a crowd and share that experience. And you develop a community, and then you develop people you co-write with, and then you go to each other's shows, and eventually a lot of these people, I've seen them come up the charts together. So again, it's like a team thing. It really is like athletics in a sense. It's like the same principles. There's no I in team. Even if you're writing the song, you might now be co-writing with 4 other people, because there's a lot of publishers consolidating and stars that want to be in the room. You might suddenly find yourself writing regularly with one person, which is a common theme we talk about in the book. Different writers that teamed up with a song, with a star, and then they were Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Luke Bryan. I could go down a list. And then they all came up together. So you can kind of also see how that unity is built from the ground up.
Well, thank you for sharing that unity. And I can certainly see the parallel now between sports and then songwriting and so on. So thank you so much, Jake, for having come on the show today to share so much about your life and your work, and sharing about the Songs of Nashville. Just before we let you go, if any of the listeners are inspired and they want to look up your profile or the Songs of Nashville, what's the best way for them to find it?
Well, best thing to do actually would be, if you, like I say, you could go to Amazon, you can go to any of the digital ebook kind of readers, and I think most of them have translators to most languages now with even AI, just it's an example. But there's a wonderful audiobook version, which I actually would point people to who are writing or running or driving, or they can't, maybe they're not a book reader, but so many of us are auditory, we're learning. Check out the audiobook. You can listen a vignette chapter at a time on the way to or from work or school or in class. If you want to sneak an earbud in and you're bored in the back of the class and, kind of have your A already, or whatever you want to do. But it's a book that should have something for everybody.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jake. And thanks to all the listeners as well. Have a great rest of the week. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having us on. We appreciate it.